while we're waiting on KP, I also want to dedicate.
Ow, here we are.
Hi!
Hi.
I was just saying before you hopped on, I
Mm.
wanted to dedicate today to one of my classmates and friends who I lost on Tuesday, Gianna
Oh,
Hutton. I
oh,
still am in the dark about a lot of different details, but she was just such a bright light,
uh-huh.
and such an amazing person. That's something I've been dealing with, KP. But
Oh,
I'm good. She
okay. I
wants me
was
to
just
be
about to
good. I'm
say,
good.
you're good. We're centered. We're all
Yeah,
together. Yeah, I'm
yeah.
sorry to hear about your loss, though.
Thank you. I think what it is, and not to bring a gray cloud to our conversation, I think
Mm.
what it is that for me this year, death has seemed really, really loud and really,
Yeah.
really swift.
Mm.
Not to say that it hasn't always been in that way, but it's something about 2020 where I've been saying throughout these episodes, everything seems so punctuated, if you
Right.
will,
Right. Right.
and so random, and
Yeah.
so yeah.
It's jumping all over the place, and I think it's a mixture of like overexposure with everything on the news, and then like one happening, and then we don't have time to process that one before the next one happens, and it's
Yes.
just yeah, it's
I
just a lot.
I cried big girl tears on Saturday night as
Oh
I
wow.
just broke down. I think it was a culmination of that news,
Hmm.
plus just the general news cycle, and then Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and then
Yeah,
we had a damn earthquake, and it was literally,
I
I
heard
not to
about
sound
that.
dramatic, but KP, it was the rockiest damn earthquake I've ever been in.
Uh-huh.
Where it sounded like I've been describing to people in the Midwest, like where my family is. I've been
Hmm.
describing to people. I was in my bed, minding my business,
Hmm.
drinking vodka neat with a
Uh,
little lemon wedge, and watching
hmm.
Joan and Tony and the Girls on
Uh-huh.
Netflix.
Uh-huh.
And out of nowhere, when you first bowl the ball, but when the ball first hits the lane, like it hasn't
Right.
reached the pins left yet,
It's a
but it just
bone.
hit.
It's the
That's what I
bone. Yeah.
heard.
Hmm.
And then I have shower doors, which are typically glass, and they
Okay.
just started rattling. Like I burst out in tears. It's been a week for me, but
Okay.
it's
It's
been
a lot,
good. But
but we're here.
being honest. So
Hmm.
Kyle, like I was,
Yes.
we just went on a whole tangent, but I'm
Uh,
so
it's fine. We'll circle back.
I'm
It's
so,
circle back. It's fine.
I'm so glad that you were able to join me because you were actually on my short list for people that I wanted
Oh wow.
for my summer series, which just lasted 10 weeks. However,
Mhm.
when we talked, you were on a social media break, and I'm
Yes.
someone who we've been in conversation before. You stopped by Kiss and Tell Radio. That's when we
Hmm.
first met.
Yes.
And I just kind of want to dig in because I feel like you do such a good job. Not only are you a good talker, but I really always appreciate your transparency when we're in conversation. And so I kind of
Thank you.
just want to be nosy and
Yeah.
ask why you felt compelled to take a social media break this past summer.
It was a combination of things. It was a little bit of what you were feeling actually. I was very overwhelmed with like COVID, and I had a couple personal deaths happen to me too that I haven't been able to process. Like my cousin got shot, and like the next week one of my close family friends, they died of COVID. So I was like, I had
Yeah.
no time to process that, and then I was trying to like this year I've been on a mental health journey, like just being more tuned into myself, and like tackling the different things as I try to go into new endeavors and everything. And it was just like I've made a hard date of August the 3rd. That's when it started. To just stop for a second, just stop, appreciate everything that's going on around you, just get back to basis, and put yourself back on track. And I actually have George, who you were just on with, to have credit with that, because we talk literally all the time. And he like kind of put a foot up my ass to be like, okay, Kyle, you got to get some stuff going and get it together. So I was like, okay, let me just like shut out all the noise, tune back into the work and into myself, and just like take a break from everything, and then come back and hit the ground running with everything you got to do. So that was that.
Yeah, and you know what? Speaking of which, since this is an after show,
Hmm.
George was just so great last hour. I don't know if you were able to catch the whole thing, but
Yeah.
they, excuse me, I
They.
still slip up where
They.
I'm,
Hmm.
they covered so many bases, and they just offered so much for me to think about. I like being in
Right.
conversation
Yeah.
where I approach every conversation as a teachable moment. I
Right.
never profess to know it all, and they just really laid some stuff on my heart today where I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, I got like
Hmm.
later on today I'm going to be in a Zoom call. I'm just going to be an
Okay.
audience member
Oh,
though,
okay. Okay.
I'm going to be an audience member. But
Okay.
I'm so excited because, as I mentioned when I was speaking to George, Sunny Hostin's memoir comes out. Like, I'll have it on Tuesday. I pre-ordered it last month, but
Uh-huh.
she is going to be in conversation with Ronan Farrow. You know Ronan Farrow, right?
Roman Farrow. That name sounds familiar.
He is the journalist responsible. He's like the smoking gun in
Okay.
in a lot of the Me Too stuff.
Oh,
And
okay. So he
I
has all
never
the
read
tea.
his book. His book is titled To Catch and Kill.
Okay.
Never read his book, but I listened to the podcast version. I recommend it to everyone, okay? But
Okay.
Sunny Hostin is going to be on the Zoom in
Hmm.
conversation with Ronan Farrow, and I made sure that I registered early because I
Okay.
want to. They're going to be talking about her memoir, and
Uh-huh.
I'm a big memoir person. So let me ask you because
Hmm.
I do enjoy, like, my top categories for books are like memoir, autobiography. I love a self help. And I
Hmm.
just kind of started getting back into like the novel territory. Like I
Right.
read The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett, which is a book I just freaking love with all of my heart. So I have
Hmm.
to ask, because I've been asking everyone this. I know you took a break.
Hmm.
You've been in it. You've been working. You're an actor. We're gonna get
Yeah.
to your Bowflex commercials,
Oh,
but
okay, okay. It's
you
fit it in
you've
there
been
somewhere.
you've been doing it all.
Uh-huh.
What have you been reading, if
Okay.
anything? What have you been watching, if anything? And what have you been listening to kind of occupy your time?
Well, I listen to more than anything. Like, I'm not the biggest reader, but whenever I do, I commit to like one thing at a time. Podcast wise, I listen to my friend Sakita Holly. She's Miss Success on here and on Twitter, and she has this thing called the Sakita Method. And she's a PR person that had this big job at Prudential, quit her job like out of the blue, like out of the blue. Like she's making like six figures, a crazy amount of money, and it's like I just want to do my own thing. And she goes through the ups and downs and the struggles of how she kept herself inspired, like, just attacking things, like how to meet people, how to do things right, how to, like, even if you do it wrong, what to learn from it. Like, she's like, because I personally know her, I know the story, but like just hearing how she goes about it on the Zakita method, it keeps me inspired, like, during my runs and stuff like that. Documentary wise, I watched the one on
Okay,
Netflix that just came out.
I haven't watched that damn
Uh
documentary, and you know
huh.
why? I mean, in full transparency, I haven't watched it because far too many. I just some of the conversation around it. I'm like, I don't know if this is for me, but I'm willing to give
Hmm.
everything a chance. I've been screaming from the mountaintops for everyone to watch Disclosure and
Yes,
On the Damn Record. Well,
I've
it's
seen
on
that too.
on
I've
the
seen
record.
Disclosure. Yes.
Yes, I have not watched the social whatever on Netflix for various reasons, but I'll probably get around to it eventually.
Yeah. But you know what? It's kind of scary in a sense of like how much access and free access that we give to these people, like in terms of like social media, like even now, like I'm not even gonna scare the audience like that, but it's like it's so much stuff that you don't even think about, and like how, like, how sometimes you wonder, it's like, okay, I was just thinking this, and then you get an ad that pops up. they
Yes.
they explain stuff like that. So it's like they're literally tracking you, like how much time you spend on people's, exactly. It's how much
Wait,
time you
wrong
spend on
way. Wrong
somebody's.
way.
Oh, but the shade was still caught. So it's all right. But yeah, it like they break all that stuff down, so it's not a coincidence whenever whenever you see all that stuff. And then I've gotten a meditation playlist from one of the people that I shot with, Christopher Mars, when I was in Chicago, like almost 2 weeks ago, two weeks ago now. Well, no, last weekend. I'm sorry. And it just, that just helps keeps me centered, because I'm like, right now I'm just trying to like drown out a lot of noise just to keep focused on
Yeah.
the task at hand, because I recently moved and everything. So I'm like, okay, like,
I
with
saw
new
that.
moving,
Congratulations.
thank you, thank you. Like, with moving, like, it's a lot of calamity that goes on while you're still trying to get settled and stuff. So I'm like not trying to get lost in the shuffle and stay on track with my plan of what I'm trying to do. So I'm actually in the process of reading the Velvet Rage and George's book too. So
Okay, yeah, I still have George's book. For those of you just tuning
mm-hmm.
in who missed last hour, I was in conversation with
Mm-hmm.
George and Johnson, the author of All Boys Aren't Blue.
Right.
Where the goal is, I've challenged people. You've already started reading, so you should be done by George's birthday, which is Halloween. I have
Oh
not
yeah,
cracked this. I have not.
prayerfully, I will be there for his birthday. So
Yeah,
like
listen,
I still have another month.
I have not cracked this open, and I've tried to commit myself to reading a book a month. But life sometimes gets the best of you. And like I mentioned, like we were talking about at the beginning of this past week was not the most conducive to me, even though I still had to be productive. Like, by the
Right.
way, those of you who are in here, if you're interested, I'll be moderating a panel next Saturday on the Zoom for the
Oh,
National Association of Black Journalists, the LA chapter,
okay.
Black Women in Media. So yeah, keep an eye peeled for that.
Okay.
You'll start seeing some promotional stuff roll out and stuff. That'll be on Saturday, this upcoming Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific
Okay.
Standard Time. But
Okay.
so yeah, I love how you emphasize like you had to kind of take a mental reset and step back.
Hmm.
I certainly went through that. Kyle, full transparency, June was the roughest month for me, I think, throughout this entire year.
Really?
Oh my
You
gosh,
know.
yes. It was
Hmm.
bad emotionally. It was bad. Well, professionally, I was booming. But that was the first
Hmm.
time that I really felt that performative aspect where I felt like I was being sincere, but I
Hmm.
also would feel like shit. And then it was like, oh, it's time to be the Shar Jossell and turn it on and welcome to da 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 da. And I just, but on the inside, it was
Wow.
like hell on wheels. And so I
Hmm.
took a month off and then I came back July 19th to Instagram Live. To
Yeah.
Instagram period, really. I came back July 19th, and that's when I kicked this off. That's why I can't believe 10 weeks has flown by so quickly
I
because I
know.
intentionally framed this to be a summer series. Fall
Hmm.
starts on Tuesday, you know,
It does.
and so I kind of timed it serendipitously to end around this time. And so
Hmm.
I'm kind of relieved, but I'm a little sad. But
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, June was a rough month for me. What has been, not to dig up any trauma or anything, but what
Hmm.
would you say has been your roughest month throughout 2020?
I'll probably say around the same time. Like it's so funny because I'm hearing you speak. It's like around the same time. I felt very. It felt like an out of body thing. It's like okay, I'm doing this. I'm doing this. Like things are moving, and then COVID happens, and then I'm like, okay, I got to be okay because I have to think of a plan. I was like, all right, how are we going to work around this? Because I don't want to be like caught up in the system, and then it's like everybody around you is like panicking, and I'm trying to be the voice of reason while doing all this together because I'm never not doing anything. Like I'm always somewhere doing something, working on a project, a shoot, or trying to do an acting class or something like that. And it was like it was in particular in one of the acting classes that I'm taking that I was trying to tap into an emotion, and I was like, I can't tap into anything because I don't feel anything right now. Like I could not feel anything. I felt very surface, like out of body and everything. And what I did was I took a couple weeks off of that acting course because I'm like, I need to do the emotional work. And when I did that, I had a couple cries. Like I actually cried like before I got on here, like because I was with my nephew and at his football game, and I love my nephew so much, and they won by the way. But yeah, it was just like I was crying because I needed to feel everything, and that was my problem. Like because I couldn't feel anything, that's what made me feel like emotionally stagnant, and like I needed to take that time to feel stuff, to not be Kyle and that's doing all these things, or Kyle from Love at First Night, or not, or even Spencer. Like that's the show that the web series that I've been on. That's where we first met, and I was Spencer for so long I didn't know who Kyle was, and it was like okay, as I was
Mm.
redefining myself, I needed to, just take a time away from everybody, just to not be anything, and just like be unkempt for a second, go back and take a walk in the park, or ride my bike, which actually was the most therapeutic thing I could ever do. And then also invest more time into my therapist and, just, come up with another game plan that works for defining who Kyle is post this show and the Kyle that I want to be. So, yeah.
So what ended up walk me through, I guess, how you landed this Bowflex gig. Like, if you all are
Hmm.
unaware, Kyle is on your TV screens right now, more than likely.
Hmm.
There's Bowflex. You have two ads out right now, right?
I have a couple ads. I did a lot of wedding shoots, but then I have the Bowflex commercial, and there's Allswell Home Decor that's out right
Okay.
now. Yeah, that's on their website too. And right, I swear to goodness, right before COVID hit, like the week before it happened, I did a State Farm ad. So I'm like, I'm waiting for that to come out. Like because COVID happened, that's prolonging
Listen,
everything.
hold,
So
hold that thought because you know what you just reminded me. I failed to mention this when George was on last hour. George
Uh-huh.
and I made the inaugural list for Obvious Magazine's 2020 Visionaries, people to
Oh yes,
watch.
I seen that.
We submitted that stuff, like the deadline was like Valentine's Day, right? Like I did my photo shoot, like, and
Mm.
so we waited, like, and I've been in communication with George, like, well, do you know when, like, I haven't heard anything, and it just dropped on Friday, this past Friday, September 18th.
Yeah.
But I
Hmm.
know the feeling of the wait. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm still hunting
Uh-huh.
down invoices. So I totally relate to you on that, because I'm like,
Yes.
I've been needing a kick. You know, like
Okay,
I've been
just a
praying to God
swift.
for like something, you know, and they were, Obvious Magazine was sitting on that list of 20 people for 6 months, six,
Yeah.
7 months now. And
Hmm.
I had been waiting. I'm like, George, do you know when this list is going to drop?
Like any day
George is
now,
in
you
the
could
comments
just drop it.
laughing.
He's getting his cackle on. But mind you, I work with Obvious on some projects, and
Okay.
we were on the cover before for Love at First Night, and I just got my cover like not too long ago because of COVID related reasons too. So I'm like, I was waiting for that, and
So,
we were
so,
having the internal discussion. So
so yeah, you've been, so I felt like I cut you off. You
no,
had
no,
a
you're
lot
good.
in the works
Hmm.
pre-COVID, and then
Yeah.
COVID hit, and then you were left like the rest of us, kind of scrambling to pick up the pieces until these corporations and organizations decided what their next game plan was going to be.
Right. And me being the control freak that I am, I hate waiting around for people to like help, dictate. We see each other, but I hate waiting around. So that was another part of why I needed to take like the mini hiatus because I'm like, all right, well, I don't like this. So how can we prevent this from happening next time? Especially being a gig worker, knowing like, all right, I have to wait for agencies to open up. I have to wait for these people to put these things out. How can I make my own self-sustaining thing? So that's what I'm in the process of doing now. Like, just making myself an all-encompassing brand. So I can be Rihanna. I can put my Fenty out. So I'm like, all
So
right, let's.
are you a freelancer, or do you have a day job as well?
I don't have a day job now, but I freelance.
Okay,
Yeah.
same here. And
Mm.
you kicked your day job to the curb when you went to South Africa for like six
Yeah.
months, right?
Yep.
But that's how
I
my sister. That's how you met my sister.
Yes, yes, yes. I
One of them.
literally one of them, but she was so cool. I was like, all right, well, I'm about to leave for South Africa in 3 weeks, and I'm like, I need somebody to take over my apartment. And she came in like an angel, and I was like, oh my God, you're perfect. First of all, you have the perfect. She's wonderful. I love her,
Thank
and she was like the perfect candidate to take over the apartment. So I'm like, okay, cool, one less thing to worry about.
you.
But but yeah, I literally quit in 2018. I quit my job because I was like, it was a hodgepodge of things going on, and I'm like, I hate my job. I hate where I'm at. So I had this opportunity that came up. So I literally took my last paycheck, moved to South Africa, and did everything just on a whim for 3 months.
And you
Yeah.
weren't scared. Like, listen, I'm a risk taker, but I'm a
Uh
calculated risk taker.
huh.
You just mentioning that just it put so much fear in me. Even though, depending
uh
on the results of this upcoming election, I might be
uh.
on Kyle's 2018 energy.
Okay.
But
Okay. But you know what? It's like, the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. And I always say that was the scariest time of my life because at the top of that year, like I had like my grandmother passed and my aunt passed at the same time. And then Love at First Night was going on, and I was super aware to so many people. So I had to be like how you felt like I have to turn Shar on. I was like, I had to turn Kyle on because I was going through all these other things. I was going through a bad breakup. I hated my job. And I was like, you know what? This opportunity happens and it's a once in a lifetime thing. So I'm just going to go for it. And I'm happy that I did because it helped me just going to South Africa. It helped me put a lot of things in perspective in terms of like not trying to be so in charge of everything that happens. Like you can make a general outline of what's about to happen, but you can't make that timeline happen on your time. Things are going to happen on
repeat
your own
that.
time.
Repeat that.
Like you can make a general outline of what you would like to see happen, but not everything's going to happen in your time. It's going to happen when it's supposed to happen. And I learned that lesson in South Africa, just meeting everybody that I met. Because I'm an American in Africa, so an American that lives in the New York area, in the New York, New Jersey area. So we're always go, 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 go. And they taught me the importance of slowing down. It's gonna happen. Relax. And that was one of the biggest things that I needed to do because I'm such a this all needs to happen. And because when I learned that, that's how I got inspired to do season 3 of Love at First Night. That's when I got inspired to, just enjoy the moment for everything. Because I
So,
think we do so many things that like we forget. I was like, oh yeah, this happened, but I gotta go to the next thing. And
so was it
yeah,
hard for you to readjust? Like, did you return to the States with this full confidence of the lessons that South Africa had taught you, or was it a bit? Did it provide a challenge for you to adjust to the rat race of New York City with your industry?
it helped me look at the rat race a little bit differently. Like before, I was looking at it like, okay, well, I have to do this because I have to compete with this person. I have to do this because I have to compete with this person. Like, how can I put myself in this position? It was like, Kyle, whatever's yours is going to be yours. So,
Mm.
like, all you have to do is the work.
Y'all
And
heard that right? Y'all
yeah,
heard that right?
I'm about to say, where's the bell? But yeah, it's like it truly helped me realize whatever's mine is supposed to be mine. Yeah, sometimes you get things and you really, really want it and you get disappointed, but it's like, you know what, there's always something bigger and better coming. And just circling back to something that happened with State Farm, I was up for the U.S. Census commercial, and I did the audition, and I left. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll wait to hear back from it. And my agent calls me like literally as I'm going downstairs, and I'm like, go back. They want to see you for something else and doing whatever. So I'm like, okay, I got this in the bag and doing whatever. And at the last minute, they're like, we're gonna go somewhere else. And I'm like, okay, that would have been a great thing because the U.S. Census, that's always gonna go. But it's like, okay, it helped me after my journey. It's like, all right, well, it sucks. And then I looked at the commercial. I was low key hating too because I was like, that should have been me. But but
You
then
know,
after that, huh? Go ahead.
no, I was just saying I find that to be such a common theme. I've
Yeah.
always branded myself and always actually prided myself in never being a jealous person.
Mm-hmm.
But what's wild is that, and I still don't feel jealousy today, but what's
Uh-huh.
wild is that I feel like something with 2020, there's been moments where I felt like there's a race against the clock, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
and times where I'm like, where I have to acknowledge that comparison is the thief of joy. And just to circle back and
Mm-hmm.
kind of reiterate your point is what's for you won't pass you by. It's like I'm doing the
Period.
work.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever's going to see it is going where it's
Excuse
meant
me.
to land. It will land, and there
Mm-hmm.
will always be peaks and valleys in this industry, which I think people fail to acknowledge. How you can. We've seen so many examples, and I think that's why I love
Mm-hmm.
memoir and autobiography so much, because we
Yes.
see so many examples of people being seemingly on top of the world on a Tuesday, and
Mm-hmm.
in 24 hours they could be not on top of the world, so to speak. And I feel
As
like
quick
that's
as it comes,
important
it
to
goes.
acknowledge. And also, like I said, comparison is the thief of joy. You have to
It
run
is.
your own race and be
Mm-hmm.
confident enough in you and your brand and your shit to know that
Right.
what's for you is not going to pass you by.
Right.
But
But
even as a very secure woman, I know what
uh-huh.
I bring to the table. I know my specific skill set.
Mm-hmm.
Even with knowing that, I there were things that creeped in where I was like, well, why did
Mm-hmm.
my phone ring? Well,
Right.
like Mimi says, now why am I in it? Now why am I not in it?
Uh-huh. It's
Now why am I
literally
not in it? Like literally, that's what I'm
period.
like.
Yeah. It
It's like I'm
happens.
busting my ass doing the work type thing, but
Mm-hmm.
it all circles back to that for me because
Mm-hmm.
jealousy is a wasted emotion.
Right.
It really serves no purpose. You could be repurposing that energy into being more productive, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe reworking some things, or blowing
Right.
off some steam. But feeling jealous of what another person has is
Mm-hmm.
wasted time.
It is.
Waste time. Binge something on Netflix. Pick up a book. Listen to a podcast. It
Listen.
is literally, I fundamentally believe, Kyle, it is a
Mm-hmm.
wasted emotion. But so many people, this is going to fly over their damn heads. And they're
Mm-hmm.
still going to sit in the wham, wham, wham of it all.
Exactly. And that's something important that you just said. If you sit in the wah wah wah, then that's what's going to consume you. Like the thing is, you can acknowledge that you're jealous. Like sometimes I do be jealous. So it's like, yeah, it happens. I'm a,
Right.
I'm a human.
Right.
But I'm like, you know what? Like you said, and instead of using this hater ass energy, I want to like, go into something else. And what I do, usually when I do feel that emotion, I first check myself because Kyle, relax.
You
One,
got
let's
to
we
hold
get
yourself accountable.
yes,
You
you
have to hold
have
yourself
to.
accountable.
I'm heavy on the holding myself accountable nowadays because I'm like, okay, Kyle, nobody's feeling this except you, and you are the only one holding yourself back. So again, relax. And then two, like you said, reroute that energy into something else. And what helps me and what ultimately keeps me fulfilled is service. So like when I get too consumed into me and what I'm doing and all that good stuff and what's is or isn't happening, like let me reroute that into something else. So what I've been doing since COVID started, I've been working with the South Jersey Food Bank and helping families that were affected by COVID, by employment loss and everything. And that helps me to feel more fulfilled and then take my mind off of myself, because the world don't revolve around me. So I'm like, I have to, it's not always about me. Boom. There we go. There it is. Ding, 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 ding.
Right.
There
Let me
we
get.
go.
People have been calling for the bell in the
Right,
comments.
right. But yeah, I'm like, the world doesn't always revolve around me. And then it was like, once I rerouted that energy off of me into something that can help serve other people, the blessings started coming in. That's when the blessings start coming in. Like, cause that's
We've
when
almost found my heart. That's
that's
when the
when
blessings come in. The blessings come in.
the blessings come in from that. It's like, that's when I got State Farm. That's when Bowflex called. Like, this is when all these things happen, when it's like you take that hater ass energy out of your system. But it's okay to acknowledge it, because sometimes it be like that. But
Literally,
just
that's
don't
what.
sit in it. Yeah.
Listen, Kyle, that's what I've been telling myself. I think the
Mm-hmm.
biggest learning lesson, one of the biggest, because there's been many this year, but one
Uh-huh.
of the biggest has been we kind of, I feel like we collectively as a community, as people who, if you're focused on your mental health, you acknowledge the kind of saying, it might even feel
Mm-hmm.
cliche now, but
Right.
how progress is not linear, right? But to
Mm-hmm.
have to sit into that, to sit in that, to
Mm-hmm.
acknowledge that you don't know, because I've been very transparent in it and acknowledging the way I was raised. I don't know if it's because I'm a earth sign, a double earth sign, I don't know.
Wait,
But the
what's your son
way
again?
I'm a Capricorn, Virgo rising,
Okay.
Cancer moon.
That's a combo.
Oh,
That's,
it's quite
that's
the
a combo.
combo.
Uh-huh.
So I feel like, and I should mention that both of my parents are earth signs and I'm the oldest. So
Okay.
the way that I was raised, the way that things were communicated to me, I feel in hindsight was in a very binary way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've been working overtime this year to unlearn that the world is not binary in that way. It's not
Mm-hmm.
you're either feeling good or you're feeling bad. There's a
Right.
whole lot of emotions in
Mm-hmm.
between feeling good and feeling bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I feel like that has been unlearning that sort of binary way of thinking, how it's not either black or white, like it's
Mm-hmm.
lots of gray, various shades of gray in between. That has been my biggest learning lesson of this year, because like I said, this past week was tough for me. I lost a friend and a classmate, but I
Right.
also started thinking about, and I'm going to ask you about this, right?
Okay.
Because this has been, I tweeted about this, and this has been one of my writing prompts for my journal, because it just came to me naturally.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know how we decipher, because like I said, death seems so prevalent now. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so follow me on this.
Okay.
Okay, we're about to go on the woo 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 train. Follow me.
Okay.
Try to
Okay.
strap in.
Okay.
So I've been struggling with the concept of closing doors. Like, you need to close doors. And I'm not talking like explicitly or specifically anything like violent, like those you need to close. I'm
Right.
talking about things that might be a little confusing or lingering feelings or whatever. How do you close a door but also grapple with life is fleeting and not carry guilt? And so that's something that I've really,
Okay.
really, really been struggling with this past month.
Mm-hmm.
Like, shedding things and just being like, you know what, I'm not engaging in that. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
engaging in that type of conversation. I'm not doing this, but
Mm-hmm.
also acknowledging that life has shown me in 2020 in particular how quickly it can turn on a dime.
Right.
And then how I feel like, but I don't want to feel bound. I don't want to feel a prisoner
Uh-huh.
to certain people or certain energies in my life, because life is fleeting. How do you
Right.
successfully close a door but also acknowledge that in the next moment
Mm-hmm.
I might be gone or they might be gone, and then how
Mm-hmm.
I deal with that? Like, I don't know. Like I said, I know that this is a weird talking point, but
Yeah.
it's something that I've really, really been thinking about because it's been tearing me up.
Um, this is something I have a day-to-day thing with, but I decide to acknowledge how I feel about every situation. Like, okay, let's say me and a friend have a falling out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I acknowledge how I feel, go through every emotion about it, and I make peace with the decision that I make, because ultimately I have to be okay with how I feel about any situation. Because, like, I can love somebody a whole lot and not like reconnect with them. And like if something happens tomorrow, I can still mourn that person, but I won't feel guilty about it because I've made peace with my decision and how our
But what if I
relationship
had made
was.
peace? What if I
You
had not? And in all honesty, I want to highlight this comment really quickly. Ryan, hi Ryan, I love and miss you.
Hey
Ryan,
Ryan.
who's also a Capricorn,
Uh-huh.
commented and said, because life is fleeting and unpredictable, I have to let go of things and close doors that could be wasting or misusing valuable time and energy,
Right.
which is true.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
go ahead.
Yeah. Ryan has such a great way with words, and I love you so much, Ryan. And it's like I kind of subscribe to the phrase that feelings aren't facts. And like I may have a whole bunch of feelings for this person. I may be feeling guilty, or I may be doing whatever, but it's like the fact of the matter is our relationship is the way it is. And it doesn't mean that I have to hate you. It doesn't mean that there's any ill intent or malintent towards you. It's just this is a decision I need to make myself feel better about this situation. And I don't feel like there's anything wrong with that, only because, like Ryan says, it's like you have to close that door for your own well being. And that's just how I operate. Like I just, if I make a decision that is done, that is done. I've exhausted every possibility. I've gone through the gamut of emotions, but once it's done, it's
And see,
done.
that's what tears me up because
Mm-hmm.
when I was younger, I was queen supreme at closing doors. I remember both of my parents
Mm-hmm.
making fun of me as
Mm-hmm.
young as fifth grade. Like, well, where's Aaron this week? And I'm like, girl, I don't talk to Aaron no more. And
Aaron.
being so sure of that. Like, I do
Mm-hmm.
not fool with Aaron no more type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like as I've gotten older, and as my thoughts have been challenged so much, even with, Ryan being in conversation, Ryan and I have had so many conversations. One time I kept Ryan up when he lived in LA. I
Mm-hmm.
kept Ryan's size up till 4 a.m. to the point where I was hoarse
Yeah.
telling him about a specific situation. And so
Mm-hmm.
I feel like as I've gotten older, things have become a little bit more blurrier, which is odd because
Mm-hmm.
you're supposed to gain clarity as you age. But I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about in relationship with people where I used to be 10 years ago when I was 22. I was so matter of fact, girl, the door is closed. And
Mm-hmm.
now, like I said, having life experience on top of varying conversations and introduced to new perspectives, now I'm kind of like waning on instead of trusting myself and being, concrete in my decision making. And this is only with certain situations, right? Not
Right.
all,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
certain
Sometimes
situations.
it can get a little murky sometimes,
Now,
but yeah.
the murk is there. The murk is there. The murk is
Uh-huh.
there. When I tell you, I'm cranking out pages in my journal, just
Mm-hmm.
trying to. I'm on a constant quest to center myself and try to better understand. I feel like that's what 2020 has provided for me. Just the
Mm-hmm.
noise has been silenced. The world has stopped spinning. And Shar, what are you going to do? And that is where sometimes I fall short because I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You know.
I think this also can attribute to how I get to the decision making of everything, that I'm an Aquarius, and we've already exhausted every possibility before we make a decision. And then once we make that decision, that's it. And I think that's what everybody has the problem with, is it's because it's so matter of fact. It doesn't mean that I don't have emotions behind my decision. It's just
Right.
I've already run through the gamut of every emotion in my head already. So it's like when I'm coming to you with something, it's like, okay, I've seen all the possibilities, all the scenarios. I've seen because it's not even about what you're saying to me, it's how you move. I watch how people move.
Ooh!
And
Ooh!
because you can tell me a
Ooh!
whole bunch of stuff, and I'm like, it's not about what you're saying to me, it's how you moving. It's not even how you treating me, it's how you treating other people. It's about like your phases in life and what I see. And I'm like, do I want this energy in my life? Because if you can so easily do this to somebody else, then you can do it to me at the flip of a
You know what?
switch.
That
Yeah.
is one of my favorite Iyanla Van Zant quotes. If you do
Hmm.
it to her, you'll do it to me. And you
Period.
don't have permission to do it to me. Are we clear?
Not on my
Fix my
watch.
life. Iyanla, Fix My Life season 1.
Right.
You don't have permission to do it
Hmm.
to me. Are we
Hmm.
clear?
Right. So I think that kind of helps, just to circle back to your question. It kind of helps me put people and things in perspective, because it's like, all right, once I made this decision, it's not a hard decision, but it's a decision that I need to make myself feel okay. Of course, if something happens to you, it doesn't mean I still don't care about you. just circling back to a friendship. It was like, all right, well, I've been friends with you. I decided to love you and let you in my life. So I clearly still care about you, but I can't care about you more than I care about myself and my own
Oh
well-being because
my
I have to live
God.
with myself, you know? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Like
Wow.
Samantha Jones says, I love you, but I love me more. And
Yes.
it has to be like that. And that's not like what I did in the past was beat myself up for loving myself more than somebody else. Or even the thought of loving myself more than somebody else because it's like I feel like, damn, I really need to be here for this person in this moment. But then you
Oh
also have
my
to
God.
think,
Stop talking.
okay. No, I'm gonna finish this thought and I'll be
No,
done.
keep talking. Keep
But
talking
no,
because
I
you're
was like,
real loud right now. You're
real
real
loud.
loud.
Okay, all right, okay. But I'm like, I thought about that. It's like, okay, I'm pouring all this energy into this person, pouring all this into this person, considering their emotions, considering like, what I can do for them to help them and get to their greater place of understanding. But if you take a step back, are they putting that same energy in you? And it's like,
I'm gone.
I can't choose you if you're not choosing me. Reciprocation is the thing. And woo, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. But yeah, I mean, but it's a thing. And it's not something that you like adapt overnight or just like
Right.
get
So that
instantaneously.
I
Yeah.
also want to mention that. I also want to mention that, and I feel like that is added on to the pressure that I've just naturally put on myself. Like I'm a natural pressure girl, okay?
Yeah,
For
yeah.
myself, I hold myself to a very high esteem and standard, and so
Mhm.
it's been giving myself the grace of, like I mentioned, progress is not freaking linear. I'm
Mhm.
going to have shortcomings. There's going to be the things that maybe are revisited that ain't got no
Mhm.
business being very Rita Repulsa after 1,000 years
Ooh.
free. Like
That's
that's very,
right.
it's
Uh-huh.
giving very Rita on season 1, episode 1 of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And
Wow.
it's like, but
Uh-huh.
honestly, acknowledging that progress isn't linear, which is, I
Mhm.
feel like I've said it a million and one times since we've been in
Mhm.
conversation, but
Right.
acknowledging that has honestly taken a weight off of my shoulders
Mhm.
because I had kind of grown to kind of adopt the idea of that, like, okay, Shar, we're addressing this issue in our life, and once that
Mhm.
door is closed, the door is closed, and then
The
we move on to the
door
next issue.
is
But that's
closed.
not how life
Yeah.
works typically. Life, I find that in my experience, it's been a bit of like a snowball. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
that door is closed, but it might crack back open. And then, oh, and you're dealing with this too, so we're gonna deal with this. That door is closed, but it might crack back open. Like, you can
Mhm.
take on multiple issues in your life while also
Mhm.
acknowledging that as concrete as you want the door to be closed, you are not
Mhm.
a robot. You are a human being, and there
Yeah.
will be triggers. There will
Uh-huh.
be media that you ingest. There will be books that you will read. There will be conversations that you will be engaged in or that you
Mhm.
might hear that might trigger certain things in you. And you get to thinking about things you ain't got no business thinking about. You get to think about people you ain't got no business thinking about. And that's what's really been coming to terms with that has really been tripping me up. Because, I feel like
Mhm.
I'm about to be 33 in a few months, and I should,
Uh-huh. Stand
my sense
tall.
of self, I grew up on Oprah, I read
Yeah.
books,
Hmm.
and it's just like, bitch, girl, come on now.
The answers are ideal until it's time to practice it. So
Yes,
I'm
that's,
like
no,
that.
that's,
That's the thing. I have all the answers. I know on paper. I know what that shit is. But then it's like, all right, it's time to apply this shit. Like, okay, you can be in a relationship. It's like, no, I'm not gonna let this nigga cheat on me, or not. I'm not gonna let him treat me this way. But then sometimes a bitch gets fucked up, and it's like, and it really be like that. It really do be like that. And Ryan, if you're still there, he knows. He knows the situation I'm talking about. And I have backslid many a time. But it's like one day you make, like I said, you make a decision to love yourself more than you love love yourself more than that situation. Or love yourself more than that memory. Or
and
love yourself, yeah,
that brings me to, because you're from Jersey, right?
I am born and raised.
So that brings me to one of my favorite. I actually have the quote on my wall. It's
Mm,
from Whitney Houston, because I feel like
mm,
it's oversimplified, but the
mm,
fundamental practice, which I, not to project onto her, but I don't even know if she reached that point. But
mm,
Whitney saying, learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. in the
Mm-hmm.
song The Greatest Love of All. It's a
Yep.
lyric that goes unnoticed. It's a lyric that goes underappreciated. It's a
Mm-hmm.
simple lyric, but it's one that has huge impact because that
Mm-hmm.
truly is the greatest love of all. And dealing with the complexities that come with always prioritizing yourself. You don't owe
Mm-hmm.
anyone anything. Like you said, it's all
Mm-hmm.
easy and fun and games when we're on the Instagram live dissecting and talking about these things. But then when it comes time to put your money where your mouth is, so to speak, you might have a shortcoming. And I feel like it's okay to acknowledge that
Mm-hmm.
it's okay to maybe fall short. We're human. We
Right.
are that's been the I know I've been saying this, but Kyle, that's been the greatest gift that 2020 has given me because I
Mm-hmm.
realized I was on a carousel. I was
Mm-hmm.
really on a carousel of not dealing. I thought I was dealing with my own shit, and I
Mm-hmm.
was in a lot of different ways I was. But as far as busting it down to the gristle, I hadn't reached that point because I always
Mm-hmm.
had something to take my attention off of it. I had
Right.
friends, I had happy hour, I had clubs, I had different projects for work. I love work.
Mm-hmm.
Like work is my inject that into my veins, right?
Listen, pump it directly in.
Yes,
Here, I love to work. Like you
yes,
see,
I
I'm
love
always working
feeling
on something.
useful. I love
Uh-huh.
feeling wanted. I have a dick, and I think that that's what I like. I have an addiction
Uh-huh.
to feeling wanted or feeling
Mm-hmm.
needed, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed
That's
that
very
about myself.
real.
That's
That's
an addiction.
very real because it's
Any man that I've been in fellowship with in any capacity, if he throws up the bat signal and makes me feel like he needs me and I'm the only girl that can solve the problem,
mm-hmm.
I realize that that is a weak spot for me in which I need to
Mm-hmm.
acknowledge that. Like, that's not, girl, that ain't no badge of honor. You're muling, bitch. The same stuff you complain about, you are
Uh-huh.
you are being put to work. I
Right.
don't know. Those of you who missed last week's after show, I went on a date from hell with a
Mm.
guy who literally, Kyle, in so many words, this man invited. The date was already bad, but
Okay.
he ended up revealing that he invited me on this date because he didn't know what he was. And what I mean when I say that is this man is engaged. He's about to get married in a few months, but he has a thing for the girls, and he doesn't know how to
Oh.
navigate that. And I
Okay.
realized I'm here to mule. I'm here to be Shar Van Zant and help you work through over
Mm-hmm.
sweet potato fries with sriracha dipping sauce and my
Mm-hmm.
specialty cocktail from this restaurant. You
Okay.
want me to work for free, and I don't have the answers for you because only you can identify however you see fit to identify. I don't have
Mm-hmm.
those answers. And so, but I also find that I feel like I fill that role for so many other men who are
Mm-hmm.
already in my life. And it's like, how
Right.
do I pull back? How do I kind of temper that? Because I don't mind it to an extent, though.
To
You
a
know what I'm
degree.
saying?
Yeah.
Like, is our interaction predicated on me muling for you and
Mm-hmm.
providing all other perspective? Like, it's a lot. It's a lot that I'm sifting through. It's a lot.
You you know what's helped me in that vein because I've kind of been that too. When I made a clear decision to not trauma bond with people, that's when the conversations and the dates started to change. Like I'm not taking on your work and my work because I'm doing my work and you see me doing my work. It's like, hey, well, maybe I can learn something from you instead of you doing your own work, making your own self complete, and then coming to me when you are complete instead of me trying to do my work and your work for you. You know what I mean? So it's like
And
I'm not.
that's what I've been so
Yeah,
radically committed to. Like I
yeah.
have been on this journey through this journey of discovery.
Dude,
Like I
Team
have
Big
been.
DD.
I feel like right. They're coming to Netflix next month. I think
It's
that
lit,
is
and I'm here.
the half and half theme song. You all better
Yeah.
get into Big Didi. But
Okay, mother.
I feel like that has been my one thing about taking a lot of these relationships on or a lot of
Hmm.
these interactions on is I've been wholly committed this year into forming myself to be an even better person so that I can be a better person to myself and then
Hmm.
potentially a partner. And I
Yes.
can't say that men that I've been in conversation with have been doing the same thing, but I've also been trying to give
Hmm.
grace. Because just because this is my year to interrogate all of my stuff doesn't mean
Hmm.
that it's your year to do the same.
Hmm.
However, that just means that maybe we don't need to be in fellowship with one another until maybe you start that journey. But I feel
Hmm.
like with a lot of men, that's asking a bit too much of them. They don't want to unlock certain doors and
They don't
interrogate
want to do
certain
the
things
work.
because
Yeah.
they really don't.
Hmm.
They really don't. And I find that even in the most basic of ways, like I'm on a dating app, don't judge me. I'm on a dating app, and I
Me
find that in the
personally.
most basic of ways, even with carrying out conversations, like I'm constantly having to facilitate, lead, authorize these conversations. And it's like, I'm interested in you. Like, I'm asking, how's your day? What have you been
Mm-hmm.
up to? And I'm not getting that same energy, but that goes into patriarchy and how the bar is literally on the floor. You expect women to clamor over you. And
Right.
I get it. I really do, but I'm tired, Kyle. I'm tired.
Let me tell you something about
As
being
Nene,
tired.
and look, as Nene says, I'm really tired.
I'm really,
I'm really tired.
but you know what? Okay, dating is just that. This can go on for a whole nother hour.
Yeah.
This dating conversation, but I mean, I think what I say the blessing of COVID, to put things a silver lining in things, is it forced me to sit down with myself and like really get into my toxic traits, my toxic habits, because I was that person at one point, very surface, very facade, because I wasn't ready to do the work. And I never had to do the work because everything just literally fell in my lap. But there was a whole bunch of things on the back burner that were chewing me apart inside that I didn't know how to communicate. And it wasn't until I didn't have the distraction of the show, the distraction of the club, the distraction of my friends, the distraction of all that, that I just had to sit there and unpack everything and really own everything that I'm feeling, that I was feeling, and all that. And yeah, George just cuts me out once a quarter just to pull me back up. He does. But I'm better at it. Like that was the catalyst of everything. I had one good cuss out from George, and I was like, okay, I'm cut the shit. Just cut the shit and just get to it. And just realize that it's a journey. Like, it's not like, okay, 2020 is gonna be the year. I'm just gonna unpack everything and that's it. It's a ongoing everyday thing. Like, sometimes I have to give myself grace in being a human and not having all the words together, but also give myself grace in being like, okay, you're trying to find the words. So like, if I can meet myself first and allow myself to be forgiven for the things that I didn't know before, the things that I've overlooked, and the things that were hurting me that I didn't know how to express, then like that can allow me to put that out into the world of what I actually want, and the energy that's going to come to me is going to be exactly that. So
Right. And
it's helped with dating too. So
yes, and I actually emphasize that specific talking point in other after shows, and
hmm
realizing that in theory it sounds exhausting, but I feel like that's our mission here as
hmm
individuals, is that there is no end date, right?
right.
There will never be a point in our lives while we have breath still in our lungs where it's like, "Ooh, I
hmm
got all the answers, I got it all figured out, and let's just live
hmm
like we are going to be working on self until
hmm
the day we die. We literally
exactly.
are. There are going to be so many different iterations of like we say things matter of fact today that might be
Right.
different 2 years from now. You know what I'm
hmm
saying? And I think acknowledging that is what helps provide additional padding, like additional cushion, for giving yourself the grace throughout this process that we know is life, because
Right.
the work is never ending. And it
And it's
sounds
work.
exhausting because it might be exhausting, but that should be
hmm
incentive for all of
hmm
us to be on our shit now, so
hmm
that we have the adequate tools to reference to in the event something bubbles up at 63. You can say, I
hmm
addressed this at 33, so I
Right.
now have the tools to tackle this as it's, because the thing is, these lessons never change. These lessons, these people, these interactions,
hmm
they never change. They just show up in different forms and
The
in
game
different
stays the same.
capacities.
Yep. And that's the thing. It is work. Like, the only time success comes before work is in the dictionary. And it's like, it's literally work, but it gets easier as you do it. The more you practice it, the more you allow yourself to be this. And just say sometimes a bitch fucks up. I be fucking up sometimes, but I'm also trying to, like, all right, acknowledging that I fucked up is a step of growth. As opposed to be like, I'm just gonna smooth that over because I fucked up, but nobody
Yes.
saw that. So I'm like, okay, but hey, I fucked up. So let me take a step back to where I fucked up, rearrange some shit, and then grow from that. So like that's the biggest thing that, well, one of the biggest things that I've allowed myself to forgive myself for. It's like, Kyle, you fucked up
Oh,
sometimes. Kyle, you fucked up sometimes. But it's okay. Like you said, there's still breath in your body
oh
and
my
another chance
God.
to get it right tomorrow. So I'm
Where's
like,
my Kleenex? Oh
oh,
my God.
I went for tears. I
Why
got
would you say
tears.
that? I don't know what I did with my Kleenex. Oh
Woo, woo, woo. Woo,
Why
woo,
did you say
woo, woo,
that? Why
woo.
did you say that? I'll just feel. Keep talking. Oh,
Oh, feel. I got you. There you go. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, and it's so funny that this is happening because, like, even in January, me even saying something like this was so hard to even express. So by September, it's like, wow, that's your marker of growth. And it's like, I'm satisfied with that, but I want to grow some more and I want to help people grow some more. And just feel seen. You know what I mean? Like, because I see you, we see each other. And
yeah,
I'm like, and I'm
yeah.
so glad that you reached out to me. Like, even in the highest, I was like, it was important for me to reach out for you to have this kind of conversation because we had conversations before, but I felt like pre-Africa Kyle was one Kyle that was like robot, gotta get it together. And this Kyle right now is completely different. And I feel like even now we're connecting in a different way that I really, really do appreciate that we're having this conversation. But
Yeah, me too.
yeah,
We were on the lives back in March.
we were. We were.
Look at, it's something, it's about those words about forgive yourself, right? Like I
Mhm.
have nothing, and we only have about 5 minutes left. So I'm
Yeah,
about to
yeah.
take all this makeup off and probably go get me food.
Uh-huh.
But it's incredible what I've conditioned myself to feel guilt around, which I
Yeah.
have no business feeling, guilt around X, Y, and Z. It's
Hmm.
so many things in my life where it's like I feel guilty for experiencing human emotion, like the everyday run of the mill human emotion. And I think it's because, like I said, it's a conditioning. I don't know if it's come from my parents or come from
Hmm.
myself or my upbringing with just thinking that I'm just above it all. And it's like,
Yeah.
girl,
Or you
no,
got to
you're
be
not.
on all the time. You don't. Like, it's so beautiful that you're even crying right now because it's like,
Yeah.
I see you as like a pillar of strength. You're doing this, you're doing all these wonderful things. But just to see you have this human emotion right now, this is so beautiful to see. And I love it. And it makes me love you even more right now. So I'm like, just allow yourself to forgive yourself. And even if you do fuck up in the future,
It's
forgive
a
yourself again.
process.
It's
It's
a
a
process.
process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
By the way, I'm wearing Rocal. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Rocal
Uh-huh.
lashes.
Uh-huh.
These lashes, Beyonce wears these. Okay.
Oh,
This
okay.
is this is
Uh.
her makeup artist. I think the lash is called Moonbeam. They were
Uh-huh.
$13 on the website.
Hmm. Okay.
Beyonce wears these. See my
Beyonce,
eye?
look, you see, get into it. Those are mine.
Am
I pluck them out from time to time, but it's
am
fine.
I giving you a am I
You
giving
better,
you a lemonade eye?
you're giving me a blink. Like you better blunk. Like you have never blunk before, and I get
Okay.
that.
Well, Kyle, I want to thank you again for taking time out.
Hmm.
This conversation took a lot of left turns for me, but it was definitely
Hmm.
worthwhile. I hope that the people viewing got something out of it like I did.
Hmm.
And yeah, I just really appreciate this. Really quickly, tell people where they can find you. And also, we have about 3 minutes left. So before you do that,
Okay.
uh, how has it been being back at work? Like you have your face out there, you're on all these ads for both legs.
Yeah.
How has that been? We got 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Um, Something that I'm giving myself grace for is I mentioned it earlier. It's like, all right, Kyle, you did it. Like, I'm passing. I'm not on the next project. So when people be like, "Oh my God, I seen you. Oh my God, I seen you," I'm like, "Oh, okay, thanks." But I'm also like, all right, the next project is this and doing whatever. And it's been, I'm allowing myself to take it all in because I worked hard for this shit. I've been doing this shit for years, and
Yeah.
for this to be my first national commercial, I'm like, let me soak this in. Let me take it all in. Let me not, get big headed because I'm still regular thigger from around the way. But it's also like this is a big thing. Like I've literally sacrificed everything for this moment to happen, and to know that success is happening on my own terms is lit. But it's wonderful. Being at work, it's everybody's taking all the precautions and all that good stuff, so I don't feel any type of threat or all that good stuff. So,
You don't
but
feel
like
nervous working in COVID?
no, because the first is always coming around the corner. So I gotta get this check. I gotta make some stuff happen. But then also I have a bigger thing in mind too. So I'm gonna make sure that I'm okay and take my precautions and stuff. But no, I don't think no, I'll be fine.
What's your goal? Like what's your overall goal? Like what's your dream? When all is said and done and
Hmm.
God does the final curtain call, so to speak, what do you
Hmm.
hope to have accomplished?
I want to inspire, and that's why I want to inspire, and I want to be. That's why I'm so transparent with everything. Of course, I want to do the acting and the modeling, all that good stuff, because that's great for the whoopty whoopty woo. But I want to do. I ultimately want to do outreach. I want to do service work, especially with the LGBTQ youth. It's more specifically the Black LGBTQ youth, because I feel like what I've learned from doing Love at First Night is so many people want to hear their stories and they want to feel seen. And that's the same way, like I did an interview with Daryl Stevens of Noah's Ark, and I was like, I felt seen
I
at
love Daryl.
15.
I
I
love Daryl.
love him. Mind you, we brought you up in the interview too.
I need to
Yes.
go and watch this.
Go and watch it. I'll send you the link after this. But yeah, we brought you up. I'm not sure if he edited it, but I'm like, I know we had the conversation because this happened a while ago. But yeah, I want to do outreach. I want to reach out to the people that look like me, that love like me, that experience things like me, and make us feel seen and feel like, all right, if I can do this shit, then all of you motherfuckers can do this shit, because it's possible. Like, don't let anybody limit you and all that good stuff. So I want to do panel talks. I want to do service work. Like, let's reach out to the youth, like talking all that. And actually, it's funny because I have a program that I'm starting next month that's doing just that. So I'm like, oh, we're already getting the ball rolling with high school kids.
That's what I love it. You keep it, and that's the mindset to have. Like when you book something, of course, it's not the end all be all. You got to be thinking about the next, but that also contributes to the rat race culture. But I feel like the rat race culture is just, it just comes with the cities that we live in, and then especially because we're Negro on top of that, we're already working with limited opportunity. That's still a real thing. You know, people think things are over. Like, no. If Kyle Price were Anglo-Saxon, statistics show you'd be at a different level.
I'll be out here. But
Same
I mean,
Shar Jossell.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? I think that's why it's important that we create our own safe spaces and we create our own art houses and cultivate our own gifts in our own way. So we don't have to worry about this person giving me a gig. I'm making my own gig. And luckily we live in the times where we can do that. We can do our own live chats. We can start our own shows, do our own panels, all that good stuff. So I mean, it's lit.
Well, like I mentioned, Kyle, this conversation has felt like a cup of warm cocoa on the coldest day of the year. I always appreciate your insight. I'm so glad that you're back to social media.
Yes.
Well, we'll be in these tweet streets and these IG streets.
I'm
always here to support you, and I always appreciate your support of me. This has been a great after show. I just want to reiterate, you all, I'm starting this. The goal is, like I said, if you get this book, let's commit to a book a month. We want to finish this by George's birthday, which is Halloween. You can finish this book is 300 damn pages. You can finish it by Halloween.
And it's an audio book too.
Right, that too.
There's audio
the thing is, what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to put bell hooks on hold for right now, because now I'm eager to start this, because bell hooks will be there. I'm reading all about love. Like I mentioned, it's full of highlighter marks and posted sticky notes and pen marks. Like I'm really tracking these chapters, chapter by chapter. But I think I'm going to try to tackle George's book and Sunny's book at the same time. I don't know how that's going to work, but my priority is to get through this, because like I said, I feel so poured into from our conversation last hour. So those of you who are watching, not George is talking about Tulum on Halloween. George, let me tell you something. The pandemic isn't over just because you're over it. Okay? The pandemic isn't over just because you're over it.
Wear your mask. Wear your mask. People have been chewing me up because it's like, you see me, I have the whole kit right next to me. I just took the picture. You're right. You're right. Don't chew me up. We had a great after show. Let's not go there.
And like I said, like I mentioned to you all, thank you all for being here. The former episodes are on my IGTV. You can go check those out. And I'm still going to be doing Sundays with Shar. It just won't be consecutively. Like, I'll pop in when I find something interesting or funny, or I want to talk to someone. I'll pop in. But this is the conclusion. Kyle, thank you for joining me for my after show. Shout out to George in the comments who joined me for hour one. I'm about to go get settled because I have a date with Sunny Hostin and Ronan Farrow in an hour on Zoom. So enjoy your Sunday, and thank you all for watching and participating. I hope you all got something out of the gems that Kyle dropped.
Okay, because I got more. Thanks
Love you, boo.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.